Thank you all for coming with us. First of all, would you please stand and follow the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. There are a few people we'd like to introduce, some special guests here today. We'll start with the commissioners of the City of Ottawa, Dan Awesome, Dale Baxter, I don't see Dale, Wayne Eichelkraut, thanks Wayne, and Ed Whitney. We have some other guests we'd like to introduce. State Senator Sue Rezin. I know Sue is here. There she is, Sue. Representing State Representative Frank Martino, Patty Manu. Patty. LaSalle County Board Chairman Jerry Hicks. And LaSalle County Treasurer Don Lamps. And LaSalle County Auditor Jody Wilkinson. And finally, Illinois Valley Community College President Jerry Corcoran. We would like to thank our sponsor for today's State of the City address, and that is Exelon Nuclear, LaSalle Station. Thank you very much. And with that, I'll introduce Don Momano, who is our Master of Ceremonies. Don?
Before we get started, a couple of housekeeping things. Everybody please take a minute right now and turn your cell phones off. Just in case. The format will be pretty much the same as it has been in previous years. The chamber staff will be circulating during the presentation to pick up questions that you may want to write down to be submitted to Mayor Bob. Ben Franklin defined democracy as two wolves and a lamb voting on what to have for dinner. And he stated that representative democracy was a well-fortified lamb contesting the vote. And that's pretty much what politics is, give and take, sometimes more give and sometimes more take. And we're here today, I guess, to determine what part of the lamb we are and what part of the wolf we are. I'm going to turn the program over to Mayor Eschbach for his presentation.
Thank you. I've been doing this for quite a while now, and the last couple of years we started adding the PowerPoint, and I was at a Rotary meeting yesterday and the speaker had a PowerPoint, and everybody has PowerPoints anymore. And I was thinking, we had great orators in the past and they didn't have PowerPoints. And I was thinking of Franklin Roosevelt and how it might be if he had a PowerPoint. He probably would have said, "You took it out." Well, there goes that joke. It was going to go something like, we have nothing to fear, next slide, but fear itself, or whatever. Anyway, I'm sorry we screwed up there. But the good thing about PowerPoints is that we have a lot of photography, and I don't want people to have to read what I'm going to say, but a picture really tells a lot. And I want to thank Mark Pentecost, who provided us with a lot of these pictures, as did our staff and even I, because I've been known to be an anti-technology person for years, but about 6 months ago I got an iPhone, and it's absolutely amazing. It's changed my life. I was so anti-technology, I think I was the last lawyer in Ottawa to have a fax machine a few weeks ago. And if you really wait a long time, they get cheap. But the iPhone is amazing. And last night I was driving home and I heard on the radio that Steve Jobs had died, and that would not have meant a whole lot to me 6 months ago. But it did today. He was really incredible, and it's amazing how this technology has changed our world. Anyway, a picture speaks 1,000 words, so because we have a lot of pictures here, that probably has shortened my speech. I'd like to thank you all, first of all, for being here, and thank the Audit Chamber for, again, hosting this event. It's always a pleasure to be able to deliver the State of the City address before this forum. Actually, by ordinance, the mayor is required to deliver an annual report, and I've always considered this to be that report. As I said last year, it's always difficult to cover all of the activities occurring in the city. It's even harder to recognize all of the people who help deliver city services and guide the growth and development of Ottawa. I usually try to squeeze in many of their names, but this year I'm just going to thank them all collectively, both our union employees and our appointed staff. It's always a thrill to be surrounded by competent, hardworking people who aren't afraid to think outside the box, looking for a better way, and challenging me to refine some of my thoughts and ideas. So much of what has been accomplished has been because of them, and I think they all deserve your thanks. I especially wish to thank the commissioners for their dedication. This year's city election may have been the first time in the city's history where an entire council was up for re-election and the entire council was re-elected. And so I've served with these people, all of them, for at least 4 years, and well, I guess I'll have 8 years now. And it's been another 4 years ago. That was 4 years ago. I don't think we've worn ourselves out too much since then. I think we've got a current picture here. There we go. Anyway, that's the end of my trying to be funny with the PowerPoint. I think that the commissioners and I all share a common vision and generally share common goals, although, of course, we differ from time to time as how to reach them. My appreciation goes out to Finance Commissioner Wayne Eichelkraut, Public and Health and Safety Commissioner Ed Whitney, Public Property Commissioner Dan Awesome, and Streets and Public Improvements Commissioner Dale Baxter. I'd also like to begin, as I usually do, by looking back at some of what has occurred in Ottawa the past year on the economic development front, then talk a little bit about city services, some special projects, and as last year, finish up by talking a little bit about city finances. First of all, on the residential front, while the state of the economy has pretty much brought residential development to a halt nationally, 7 new home permits were issued in Ottawa this past 12 months. However, there was significant residential-related development in the city this past year. Major expansions are currently under construction at both Pleasant View Lutheran Life Community and Ottawa Pavilion. Pleasant View's $23 million expansion, consisting of renovating the patient tower and building new assisted living residence apartments, is now nearly 1/2 complete. And Ottawa Pavilion is approximately 1/3 of the way through a $17 million two-phase construction project, which will completely rebuild and redo its current facility, providing Ottawa senior citizens and their families with yet another beautiful senior residential facility. Within the large, high-ceiling central building of the new facility will be housed a unique Main Street setting, a beauty shop, spas, a family dining room, a game room, and more, all designed to look like stores along small-town Main Street. Both of these developments partially replace existing buildings, and I am pleased to say that each one expects to create over 20 new jobs upon completion. 2 other housing developments that were recently approved by the city include a senior housing project planned for the North Champlain Street by the Stowe Group. This $6 million project will include 60 residential units for seniors. The attractive brick buildings will offer affordable rents to local seniors with amenities such as a community center and a fitness center. The other project is MCT's incorporated apartment complex, which was recently permitted and will expand an existing complex on Guyan Street. This is a $1.6 million project consisting of 16 new rental units. The primary new industrial project nearing completion is the International Titanium Powder, or the ITP project, in the Ottawa Industrial Park. This multi-million-dollar project has created over 70 good-paying jobs, and I am pleased to say that the company has had discussions with the city about further expansion of that facility in the near future, which will create additional investment and jobs. This year, we also saw the completion of the Ottawa Regional Express Care Facility. This over $1 million project resulted in approximately 10 new jobs. And this year also brought the completion of a $600,000 renovation of the Southtown Mall to accommodate the consolidation of various state employment-related offices. This restructuring of state offices brought approximately 25 new jobs here to Ottawa. And the biggest building project currently underway is the new Central Intermediate School, which is expected to be completed and in operation by the first of the year. As I indicated in my last address, the combination of FEMA funding and state capital development fund monies means the Ottawa Elementary School District will be able to complete the new building with minimum local tax dollars. Other commercial developments underway or expected to begin soon include the Advanced Auto Parts Store on East Norris Drive and the pharmacy stop to be located north of the I&M Canal adjacent to Greaves Realty. Each of these projects involves an investment of about $1 million. Finally, only a few days ago, I was able to tour a unique new business located on East Dayton Road. This facility will serve as a retail outlet and distribution center for the Bone Collector line of products celebrating the culture of the hunter. Shoppers will walk among elk, deer, bear, and other animals to peruse the Bone Collector inventory. These products are an offshoot of the very popular Mike Waddell's Bone Collector TV show. The facility also has a large warehouse and distribution center area, as well as workstations, corporate offices, and a very impressive boardroom. Bone Collector products ordered via the internet will be shipped throughout the country from this facility. Withstanding the difficult economic tide, Heritage Harbor, Ottawa has continued to move forward. A key step was the issuance last year by the City of Ottawa of $2.5 million in recovery zone bonds to extend water and sewer throughout Heritage Harbor. Not only did this federal stimulus funding program make the project more affordable for the developer, it also extended sewer and water to a point where the city now can connect to the Ottawa Industrial Park. And as part of this arrangement, Heritage Harbor conveyed the Jordan Block to the city. Remaining bond funds were used this past summer to help construct a new entryway to Heritage Harbor. This new entryway provides a grand boulevard perspective of the harbor and the Illinois River beyond and makes an outstanding first impression to the new visitor. The roadway leads to Tracy's Boathouse, the new restaurant with the creative and delicious menu at Heritage Harbor, and a new outdoor swimming pool. Other exciting developments include the cottages at Heron's Landing, which is a unique new Illinois riverfront development designed to attract visitors to Ottawa and Heritage Harbor, and the just recently completed 4-unit Heritage condominium. The Heritage Harbor Marina continues to be a successful operation, attracting watercraft from all over the nation. While we have experienced some new development, I believe that the big story this year is the strength of the many of our longtime businesses and industries. Many of them are thriving in this recession era. For example, U.S. Silica is currently completing a $35 million expansion to its processing plant. This will increase the company's capacity to deliver frac sand to the natural gas drilling industry. U.S. Silica is expanding its workforce to man the new production facilities, and when completed, will have brought over 30 new jobs, most of them being union jobs. The Ottawa plant is considered the crown jewel of all of U.S. Silica's production facilities. Similarly, there's good news at Pilkington's glass production plant. The completion of the west side water tower clears the way for Pilkington to begin planning for its next phase of redevelopment. As part of its ongoing commitment to the community, the company has authorized the preparation of design plans to renovate the batch plant facilities at a total project cost exceeding $10 million. The Ottawa facility is considered throughout Nippon Sheet Glass, which is the parent company, as its most shining example of community partnership and plant success. By the way, in the last 2 years, the Ottawa plant has added about 30 new employees. There seems to be a lot of creativity and aggressive business savvy being exhibited by local firms. For example, MBL, which manufactures automotive belts, has expanded its production at the Ottawa plant to include belts for snowmobiles. I'm told that the plant now controls over 90% of the industry production of those belts. Consequently, the company has hired new help, including 5 technicians and additional office staff, and is running at near capacity. LMK Industries on Chessie Lane has expanded its facility and with an addition and expects to maintain and expand its workforce. At the other edge of Ottawa on West Norris Drive, Performance Pipeline is renovating its facility and advises us that business is good. Some other local businesses and industries are adjusting to new technologies. For example, even though there has been drastic changes in the film industry, HR Imaging has adapted to new digital photography techniques and is delivering to the customer, is delivering product according to what current customers demand. We've also been advised that Clover Technologies is doing very well. Sigma Graphics is at capacity. Stevenson Transfer has expanded, and Jim's Formal Wear has acquired another chain and now employs over 74 people in its Ottawa store during peak season. B&B Electronics is also about to expand its facility. In preparing these remarks, I recently learned that both Clover Technologies and US Silica were purchased by Golden Gate Capital, which seeks out companies that show significant potential for growth. This development can provide additional capital to allow even further growth of these companies. And one other bit of good news, I believe, has to do with the city's largest employer, Ottawa Regional Hospital and Healthcare Center. As you know, Ottawa Regional is working on a merger with OSF, which is the St. Francis entity in Peoria. At a time when small-town hospitals are facing more and more challenges, and some of them are closing or cutting back on services, I think this proposed merger is good news for Ottawa and will result in continued accessible, quality health care for the community. Well, I just guided you through a look back at the past year. Now let's look forward a bit and talk about some of the new ways the city is working to promote economic growth. We have two new tools in our economic development arsenal. As you know, over the years, the city's TIF districts have been a very powerful economic development tool. This year, the city decided to implement a new commercial TIF in the vicinity of the vacant big boxes on the city's north side to provide additional incentives for redevelopment of those properties. Typically, TIFs would not be used where major improvements already exist. However, because these big boxes have been empty so long, with their assessed valuations actually decreasing, the City Council felt it important to move in a new direction. As has been explained to the school districts and other taxing bodies, the real estate taxes that are currently received by those taxing bodies will not be affected by the new TIF. Only the incremental or increased real estate taxes resulting from the redevelopment of those properties will pass to the TIF. However, we believe that that could be significant enough to prompt redevelopment of those big box properties. The Bill Walsh Group has already committed to purchase the Value City property and will make a substantial financial investment to redevelop the site as a beautiful landscaped, state-of-the-art auto dealership. The second new tool we have in our arsenal, I believe, is the creation of the new Port District. Seeking to provide Ottawa with yet another economic development option, the city pursued the creation of the Ottawa Port District late last year through the Illinois General Assembly. Thanks to the efforts of State Representative Frank Martino and former State Senator Gary Dahl, the legislature passed the bill, which was signed into law by Governor Quinn in February. The 7-member board has been appointed by the governor and myself, and I expect the district to soon become operational. Although not a taxing body, the Ottawa Port District will be able to use revenue bonds to finance a wide variety of economic development projects. The district will also be able to team up with the city to increase certain grant opportunities, particularly federal brownfield cleanup grants. A key part to Ottawa's future economic development efforts is the Ottawa Industrial Park, located along East Route 6. The park is home to International Titanium Powder and several other businesses. The City of Ottawa is in the final stages of securing a $2 million grant from the U.S. Economic Development Administration toward a $4 million expansion of the park. The next 150 acres of the industrial park will be developed with roads, water and sanitary sewer extensions, drainage, and a new rail spur. The purpose of the upgrade is to accommodate new industries and the expected expansion of International Titanium Powder, and to attract new industries, including those which use titanium as a critical ingredient in their manufacturing process. City staff has been working for several years on this project, as has the staff at North Central Illinois Council of Governments, and we expect to get a decision in the very near future from EDA. After nearly a decade of effort, we are almost to the point of launching a public transportation system to serve the people of LaSalle County. The City of Ottawa has taken on the responsibility of administering the system from LaSalle County. Recently, the city received confirmation from IDOT of the award of $1 million in state and federal grants to cover the cost of starting the system, along with the providing of 2 new 12-passenger wheelchair accommodating minibuses. The next step will be for the city to launch a request for qualification process to find an organization which the city can hire to run the day-to-day operations of the transportation system, leaving the city to largely serve as the fiscal manager. With respect to broadband, as you know, during the summer of 2010, the LaSalle County Broadband Initiative and its partners, the City of Rockford and various counties in the northwestern Illinois and Northern Illinois University, received notice from the federal government that it had been awarded almost $69 million in federal, state, and local funding to lay a 900-mile fiber optic network throughout the area. Since the award, these partners have formed the Illinois Fiber Resource Group, or iFiber, a not-for-profit organization that will build and manage the network to bring high-speed, unrestricted broadband access to the area at competitive prices. iFiber has moved the project through the environmental assessment stage of examining the fiber route to current engineering and construction phases. The City of Ottawa has been a strong proponent of this initiative from the very beginning. We are now exploring how to maximize the use of this network when it reaches Ottawa during the next year, including the possibility of ensuring both its availability to future industries interested in locating in Ottawa, and also to reach every corner of Ottawa via wireless connectivity. Let's talk a little bit now about beautiful downtown Ottawa. Based on the research done by Destination Development International in 2008 and adopted by the Council in 2009, the Gardening and Botanical Arts brand is the official economic development plan for downtown Ottawa. An important part of the brand is the ongoing effort to make downtown Ottawa a place where people want to visit, to shop, and to do business. The most visible aspect of this effort has been the downtown beautification efforts, which has focused largely on the streetscaping in the 600, 700, and 800 blocks of LaSalle Street during the last 3 growing seasons. The 600 block of LaSalle Street by the courthouse was completed in late May of this year. It features as a pilot program an automated watering system for the plants and tree beds and the hanging baskets. A major effort this year, by the way, was made in partnership with Stephanie Stacy of Gardens Gate to improve the hanging baskets on LaSalle Street, and we've recently met with her regarding the 2012 baskets and expect them to be even more beautiful. An important part of this effort to create an attractive ambience in the downtown is Ottawa's Historic Preservation and Restoration Program. The centerpiece of this program is the designation of downtown Ottawa as a National Register Historic Commercial District, a status which makes a 20% federal income tax credit available to owners of historic buildings to be applied against the costs of restoring their buildings. By the way, of the 196 buildings in the study area, 156 were judged to be contributing, that is, over 50 years old and maintaining significant architectural integrity. And the consultant was pretty excited about that. He says, very, very rarely do you find a commercial district that has that many contributing buildings. Other valuable historic preservation tools include a city facade improvement matching grant program and the downtown TIF. By our count, at least 10 buildings in the downtown have building facade restoration or improvement projects in the works. Some of these are the Paglis building on Columbus Street, the B&O Title Company building on West Madison Street. And that's interesting. The lower level is all that 1930s architectural glass. A lot of it was broken and missing. It's all been restored and the building painted. And the Bianchi's Pizza, I should say world famous Bianchi's Pizza on LaSalle Street. This is a major renovation. Several new businesses have located downtown in the past year, including Corner 230 Restaurant, which is a kitty corner from City Hall, Madison Street Living, which is the second level short-term rentals in that building, the Blue Beaker and Kids Palace, both on LaSalle Street, Ottawa Delivered on West Jefferson Street, the relocated Dancer Shop and relocated Design for You, Your Interior Moto Shop on West Madison Street, and the new Ottawa Veterinary Hospital on Clinton Streets across from Home Hardware, and the Robert Kuhn Studio are also new to downtown. The Zeller Inn has new owners and has been reinvented, once again offering fine dining. Perhaps another sign of progress was the meeting I had recently with a local business which is planning to close its facility at the outskirts of Ottawa in order to concentrate on its downtown branch. It appears there are now only 2 vacant storefronts on LaSalle Street, and one of those is vacant because it's under reconstruction. Another significant step forward this year in the implementation of our downtown brand was the startup of 2 downtown festivals, both with botanical arts themes. The Midwest Morel Festival and the Ottawa Two Rivers Wine and Jazz Festival produced small profits and successfully laid the groundwork for bigger and better events next year. Both festivals attracted new people to Ottawa and introduced them to our downtown. The Wine Festival was especially successful in attracting new visitors from the Chicagoland area. The Morel Festival featured more than 300 people paying $30 apiece to hunt morels in both instructional and competitive settings. Local mushroom hunters brought in 70 pounds of fresh morels to be auctioned at prices ranging from $35 to $65 a half pound. These robust market conditions should attract an even larger quantity of morels for auction next year, and of course, even large sales commissions for the festival. A special thanks needs to go out to the Ottawa Visitor Center for its organizational efforts and to Heritage Harbor of Ottawa for its sponsorship and general assistance. And despite the intense and unseasonable heat of Saturday, the first day of the Wine Fest, almost 3,000 people attended the inaugural Wine Fest. The event attracted 26 wineries from all over the state of Illinois and featured a music program headlined by Shirley King, the daughter of legendary B.B. King. A major factor in the Wine Festival's success was the City of Ottawa's partnership with the Illinois Grape Growers and Vintners Association, whose expertise and financial support were critically important. Speaking of financial support, the city would like to thank the Festival Music's stage sponsor, which was U.S. Silica, along with other key sponsors, Heritage Harbor, Bill Walsh Automotive, and First National Bank. These new festivals, along with more established and very successful ones sponsored by the Ottawa Downtown Merchants Association, such as the Scarecrow and Ice Odyssey festivals, plus the Farmers Market, have added a new sense of vitality to downtown Ottawa. I want to thank the Ottawa Downtown Merchants Association for its increasingly effective marketing of our downtown. By the way, the city's acquisition of the old Central School property would be a major boost to the city's downtown development plans and could provide Ottawa, the people of Ottawa, with another beautiful Riverside Park and festival area. In April, the city applied for a $5.8 million in federal disaster recovery program funds named after Hurricane Ike, which caused the flooding in 2008, for the purpose of purchasing from the Ottawa Elementary District and then demolishing the now permanently closed school building. We're anxiously awaiting the results of this application. And one of the most important things to ever occur in downtown was the opening last year of Illinois Valley Community College Ottawa Center, the first satellite campus in the nearly 90-year history of the college. The center was an immediate success and continues to thrive. As of this week, when compared with last year at the same time, credit hours taken by students at the center are up 33%. We are proud to note the center is hosting an important partnership between IVCC and Northern Illinois University, one which was actually first announced in Ottawa last year by the president of NIU. I'm referring to the opportunity for students completing the IVCC nursing curriculum to now seek their Bachelor of Science degree in nursing from Northern Illinois University through classes at the IVCC Center. The City of Ottawa continues to support the center in addition to purchasing the building and remodeling it to accommodate the educational needs of the college. The city this year put a new roof on the building and installed a new HVAC system. Both improvements will vastly increase the energy efficiency of the building and significantly improve our efforts to certify it at the LEED Silver level. A grant application is pending, which may provide funds to add wind and solar renewable energy features to the campus, which already features native plant landscaping, which is kind of hard to appreciate sometimes, because it looks like native plants growing in your backyard. But anyway, it may get us some points. By the way, thanks to Jennifer Scarry and the IVC Business Training Center for working with the city's Civil Service Commission to develop and administer entry-level testing for city positions. like to especially thank IVCC President Jerry Corcoran, who's with us today, and the IVCC Board of Trustees for their vision in recognizing the educational value of the IVCC Ottawa Center. The other end of downtown is the Reddick Mansion and Gardens. The gardens are looking more beautiful than ever, thanks in large part to the volunteer gardening skills of Twyla Yednock. The city has been working with its insurance company to cover the cost of repairing the lightning-struck roof and removing the damaged chimney, which was not part of the original building. The city and Reddick Mansion Association have also agreed to restore the mansion skylight as part of this roof replacement project. At the request of the city, George Carey has just completed a very professional and detailed analysis of the Reddick Mansion and its restoration needs, which the City Council and the Reddick Mansion Board will be considering. Already the decaying and non-original fire escape has been removed from the east side of the mansion, thanks to the work of Commissioner Dan Awesome and his son. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the services that the city provides our citizens through a capable workforce and an improved infrastructure. With respect to the police department, it continues to maintain its standing as one of the most professional and progressive law enforcement agencies in the area. Long-standing successful programs continue, such as the peer jury, aimed at keeping young first-time offenders out of the juvenile court system, while newer programs have been instituted, such as the Ottawa Police Department's Child Abduction Response Team, intended to create quick, structured investigation and searches to bring endangered children home safely. At the beginning of 2011, a tragedy occurred that could have been much worse if not for the quick action of one Ottawa police officer. On January 9th, as one of the first officers on the scene at a West Side house fire, Randy Nelson located an elderly man lying outside of an open window on the side of the residence. The man told Nelson that his wife was still in the home. With absolute zero visibility and heavy smoke, Officer Nelson entered the home through the open window and, after several attempts, located the elderly woman inside the residence and removed her to safety. Unfortunately, the injured man later succumbed to injuries suffered from his fall from the window. However, due to Officer Nelson's heroic efforts, the elderly woman survived. Officer Nelson was awarded the department's Officer of the Year Award, and on a national level, the American Police Hall of Fame's Life Saving Award. In the latter half of 2010, Ottawa native Mary Maguna was hired as a new Records and IT Support Manager. Additionally, in April of this year, the department employed its first female officer in nearly 6 years with the hiring of Officer Stephanie Bickham. Stephanie has successfully completed a larger portion of her initial training and will be on the streets in less than a week from now as a fully authorized Ottawa police officer. In addition to new hirees, the department also saw one retirement this year. In December, Officer Gary Cox, a favorite personality within the department and seasoned veteran with more than 23 years of service, pulled the plug and moved on to greener pastures. Chief Zalman noted, however, fear not, like the famed yet elusive Sasquatch, there have been sporadic sightings of Gary around town since his departure. Elsewhere in the department, 2 Ottawa officers were recently appointed to the Illinois Law Enforcement Alarm System Mobile Field Force, a law enforcement mutual aid program. The Mobile Field Force is basically a platoon of specialized police officers of various ranks from various departments that train and deploy together in times of need. In May of this year, Officer Gary Johnson and Corporal Jeff Bangert, Ottawa appointees to the field force, deployed to Southern Illinois for Operation Flood Fight to assist in maintaining order during the floods. Johnson and Bangert are also supervisors on the Ottawa Police Department's own special response team, which to date has seen more than 60 activations for incidents such as drug-related or high-risk search warrant executions. Although official crime statistics are still not yet available for the past year, it's area code 239. Does anybody know what that is? All right. I'm still a little new at that. All right. Anyway, regarding official crime statistics, although they're not officially available for 2010, A noted decrease in the number of calls for service from 2009 to 2010 leads one to believe that there was a proportional decrease in actual crime. But although 2010 seemed to go out like a lamb, 2011 seemed to come in like a lion, with a couple of more serious crimes, thankfully not seen in Ottawa as on a regular basis at all. These crimes, however, were quickly, thoroughly, and professionally resolved by our law enforcement officers. Most recently, a Labor Day enforcement grant in the amount of $2,500 was secured by the department and used to put additional officers on the road during the holiday for traffic and DUI enforcement. And on a final note, the Ottawa Police Department, although outfitted primarily in blue, has been showing its greener side lately through the continued successful support of the Prescription Pill and Drug Disposal Program, or P2D2. Educating the public about the dangers of disposing of these drugs either in the garbage or by flushing them down the toilet, the program provides a site where drugs may be dropped off for safe disposal, no questions asked. To date, the department's P2D2 drop box has collected more than 1,500 pounds of prescription medications that otherwise may have ended up in our landfill, groundwater, waterways, or even drinking water. At the fire department, Chief Jeff Newberry oversees the operations of the department. 28 employees of the fire department, include a records clerk, and 3 shifts of 9 men. All firefighters serve as emergency medical technicians, or EMTs. This past year, the Fire and Police Commission increased the hiring standards for new firefighters. This has been done to prepare the department to become an advanced life support service. With these new standards in place, we have begun to hire paramedic-level EMTs. This new hiring criteria and the continued education of our personnel has resulted in 5 firefighters reaching licensed paramedic status, and 6 more firefighters who have completed the training through IVCC and are waiting to take the state paramedic certification test. The goal of the department is to upgrade all of the 27 firefighters to paramedic level to improve the level of service to the community. The department recently purchased 2 LifePak 15 cardiac monitors. This purchase was made possible through the donations made to the department's first aid fund. The new monitors are complete. They are a complete acute cardiac care response unit. These units also allow for monitoring of end-tidal CO2, which is the measurement of carbon dioxide in the blood. They also can send 12 lead cardiac strips to the Ottawa Regional Hospital prior to the arrival of the patient at the emergency department. Last year, approximately 85% of the department's call volume was for medical emergencies, both in the city as well as surrounding area. In addition to responding to 2,500 medical calls per year, approximately 450 fire calls, members of the fire department train both in the field as well as the classroom to enhance their skills and capabilities, logging over 240 hours per individual per year of training. The department has begun the construction of a new training site located in the former advanced asphalt property the city recently acquired for a public works facility. This site will allow for more hands-on firefighting training. It will also allow the city to save money in training costs by having the availability of pertinent training props at a local site. The fire department has been proactive in training its members to respond to county or state emergencies as members of MABUS, that's the mutual aid system. 4 members now serve on the hazardous materials response team, and 6 members serve on the technical rescue team. An emergency generator and light plant is housed at the main station for deployment when needed. The fire department's participation in fire prevention and education activities in the community, which include visits to the school, to schools, to clubs, and fire extinguisher training for various organizations. Fire and fall prevention programs for the elderly are offered at local assisted living facilities. Local businesses have capitalized on fire extinguisher and evacuation drill training for their employees. The fire department makes regular appearances at local safety fairs and community events like Scarecrow Fest, making contact with over 200 children at each event. The department is one of the few fire departments in the area to offer an Office of State Fire Marshal Junior Fire Setters program. This enables the department to address children who may have been involved in behavior that not only endangers the child, but our community as well. The department is currently upgrading the emergency response vehicles with preemption devices to coincide with the replacement of the traffic control lights in downtown Ottawa. This will allow vehicles to travel more safely through intersections while responding to emergency calls. And the department, in cooperation with the city building official, is taking a more active role in code inspections. Currently, the fire chief has begun a review and update of the city's emergency operation plan. In cooperation with all department heads and city officials, this will ensure the city is complying with FEMA's National Incident Management System requirements in times of disaster. The department is also currently working on a program to remind residents of the city's ordinance to make sure their addresses are available, and will be instituting some public service announcements in the near future. And finally, through an Eagle Scout project of Matt Thrush, and in cooperation with the department, the fire department enjoyed an upgrade to its memorial display in front of the building. This can be viewed at the Central Police and Fire Station. We now talk a little bit about our city's infrastructure and our other services. Our long-awaited 500,000-gallon West Side Water Tower is ready for operation. The foundation work started last fall, then this spring the tower work started and continued through the summer. Painting finished mid-September, and the tower is going online, or it probably is online at this point. And those two people at the top of the tower are our city engineer and our assistant engineer. This $1.3 million project was financed through bonds, which will be paid by loans from the city's Enterprise Zone Fund. Engineering for the project was provided in-house, resulting in a savings of about $100,000 in consulting engineering fees. In order to meet the fire flows for the new addition to Auto Pavilion, the city installed approximately 1 mile of 12-inch water main down East Center Street. Not only does the water main improve the existing fire flows for the entire area, but allows for future development opportunities in the far east end of Center Street. This $570,000 project was paid primarily through a $350,000 grant the city was able to obtain through the CDEP Public Infrastructure Program, as well as a significant contribution from Ottawa Pavilion. The city's wastewater treatment plant project is now 95% complete. The total project cost of $9.2 million is funded largely through $7.7 million through a $7.7 million ERA stimulus grant. So this is some of the stimulus money coming to Ottawa. Now, for more information than you ever wanted to know about a sewer plant, and Bob Schul's going to kill me for calling it a sewer plant. It's a wastewater treatment plant. First, the project includes a new sludge dewatering facility, expansion of the grit removal system, a new final settling tank, and river discharge pumps. Also, the project provides for improvements to the excess flow storage and treatment ponds. We also replaced a 55-year-old electrical, aeration, and flow control systems that were frankly worn out. And a new control building provides lab facilities and a central remote control system for the plant. And this is our engineer's idea of humor. And this remote control system will eventually control all of the lift stations throughout the city. So rather than having to travel to 20-some lift stations, it can all be done from the plant. Also included is a new electric generator for power backup in the event of a power outage. You can see how a lot of these electric are being built higher now because of the rising experience we've had with rising river. Although it is valuable to receive stimulus funding, there was much extra effort and expense in documenting that all iron, steel, and manufactured products met the Buy American provisions. Let's talk a little bit about our street program. The city's 2011 street improvement program is about half complete. This year, about 3 miles of street will be reconstructed at a cost of about $1.5 million. Major work is being done on the east side, on Green Street, and on the streets to the east of Green, and on Marcy Street on the south side. This year's asphalt overlay project will begin soon, and this year's Brick Street restoration is being done on Christie Street. The last part of the street work needed to bring the Kohl's Distribution Center to town was just also completed this year at a cost of $1.5 million, which was partially funded with an IDOT Economic Development Program grant. All in all, I believe the city has been very aggressive in maintaining and improving our streets. Being in the valley of two major rivers that frequently overflow, floodplain management is becoming ever more important. As I reported last year, the city was accepted into the Community Rating Service Program for flood management administered by Homeland Security's Insurance Office. Ottawa was accepted and rated as at level 5, the highest classification level achieved by any Illinois community. The result has been a 25% savings in flood insurance costs for our citizens. Last year, I also reported that Dave Noble and Mike Sutphin were both now qualified floodplain managers. Since last year, I am pleased to report that the city received the statewide annual award for outstanding efforts in floodplain management. More exciting to me, Mike Sutphin was named Floodplain Manager of the Year by the Illinois Floodplain Managers Association. A few days ago, the city's Flood Commission submitted its first annual report to the council. The Flood Commission identified 9 areas of flood mitigation concerns. The top 3 were the cleanup of the Inum Canal Aqueduct, flood protection for our wastewater treatment plant, and elevation of Green Street. I'm pleased to report that the Fox River Aqueduct cleanup is nearing completion. Last month, the Illinois Department of Natural Resources was able to focus a renewed effort to remove the debris piled up at the aqueduct, which was causing a flooding problem and threatening the integrity of the historic structure. With very limited resources and almost no budget, Dan Bell with IDNR has put an aggressive hands-on fix to the problem. It appears that within days the debris pile will be removed. The project does not, however, involve dredging, and we are hoping that other funding sources will allow dredging in the near future. As I noted earlier, the city is in the process of completing a major rebuild of our wastewater treatment plant. Unfortunately, because of the new higher floodplain elevations, the plant could be threatened by a very large flood. City engineering staff has been working with IDNR and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on a permit process and preliminary design criteria for a flood protection wall around the plant. And with respect to the Green Street, when either the Fox or Illinois rivers substantially flood, that street becomes submerged. We have also had a situation in the last few years where the Main Street Bridge over the Fox River was at the point where floodwaters were almost reaching the bottom of the bridge. We are fearful at some point the bridge may have to be closed during a flood because of the water, and we do not want the east side to become an island. To address this, a preliminary hydraulic analysis for Green Street was completed this summer, and we are hopeful this effort will allow us to apply for funding to complete the project at a future date. I'm also pleased to announce that the city recently was advised that Ottawa had qualified and received a $200,000 federal Hurricane Ike program grant for 25% of the cost of buying out the remaining homes in the flats along the Fox River. We previously received a 75% FEMA hazard mitigation grant for the other $600,000 of the cost. This means the city will be able to acquire and demolish those homes in the floodplain and further expand and enhance Fox River Park. And this is the first time we've ever been able to get 100% funding. Usually in the past it's been 75%. So, and our staff did an incredible job on working to get that. The City of Ottawa Playground and Recreation Board has spent the past year balancing the recreational needs of citizens and the need to wisely spend tax dollars. Safe, comfortable, and convenient facilities have always been a priority of the Rec Board, and nowhere is this more true than the Lincoln Douglas Complex area. Reardon Pool underwent new management, was cleaned up, given new guard chairs and pool ladders, and the locker rooms repaired in numerous small ways, from new windows to non-slip floors. Due to the improvements, the City of Ottawa swim meet was revived, and Ottawa High School hosted its first ever outdoor home swim meet at our pool. Meanwhile, the city, schools, the Ottawa YMCA, and concerned citizens met and formed a committee to study costs of constructing a new pool sometime in the future. And I've got to say, it's been a long time since I'd actually been out to the pool, and I was out there this summer, and I was really struck how beautiful it is and how big it is. I mean, there's no other community around that has a pool like that. So even though it won't last forever, we're making it work. And next year, I think we need to start figuring out ways the whole community can use that more. Maybe a business after hours at the pool or something like that. Something to think about. After approving the closure of the road between the adult softball fields, the Rec Board financed the building of 2 shelters, with a goal to create a new leisure area similar to that between Massanelli Field and Ottawa and the Ottawa American Little League fields. Soon, landscaping will complete the renovations, making the Ottawa Adult Softball facility one of the finest in the Illinois Valley. The Lincoln Douglas Complex figures in Ottawa's Playground and Rec Board's future plans as well. Just south of the pool, preliminary construction of the new tennis courts to replace those destroyed by flooding at Allen Park hopefully will soon be underway. On the far east end of the park, a new regulation side soccer field is nearing completion. Although recent attention has been devoted to the area around Lincoln Douglas Park, the Playground and Rec Board has not forgotten about the rest of the city. The board recently financed the purchase of property in the northwest section of the city where a new playground and park are planned. Additionally, the Rec Board is working toward creating a new dog park with the help of the City of Ottawa, a generous $10,000 donation from Imes Eukanuba Brothers Country Supply, and the newly created Ottawa Dog Park Board. The board is also actively pursuing plans to create, the Rec Board is also actively pursuing plans to create bike paths throughout the city and has just finished revisiting its comprehensive plan to identify underserved areas. Just as important as the facilities are the youth and adult activities sponsored by the Playground and Rec Board. This year, Ottawa's Rec Summer Youth Program offered supervisors at the parks an Ottawa tradition unique among communities. Over 40 camps and clinics taught skills from art to basketball to bowling to photography to sewing to volleyball to wrestling. Overall, Ottawa Recreation Summer activities serve almost 3,500 young people from Ottawa and the surrounding community. And the Rec Board continues to work with the dedicated volunteers of the youth leagues to make sure that facilities are available for summer sports. Ottawa Rec's long tradition of sponsoring outstanding adult softball continued this year under the watchful eyes of the new murals of June Gross and Roy Sanders. This year, 56 men's teams and 20 women's teams vied for league championships in the summer leagues, while 26 men's teams and 10 women's teams played in the fall league. But there's more to adult recreation than softball. Again, Jane and Rod Shomas volunteered their time to host dance lessons every Tuesday evening. Roz Sesto of Energy Yoga sponsored a free sunrise yoga class Saturday mornings in September. A favorite of our senior citizens, the annual Tea Dance, featured a class act is scheduled for October 16th, coming up from 2 to 4 at the Knights of Columbus Hall. Last year's event was well attended. I don't think I've ever got so many written thank you notes about any event than I did from that. The 9 appointed volunteer members of the Ottawa Playground and Rec Board take their responsibilities seriously, and they are all dedicated to responsibly growing the facilities and activities for the City of Ottawa. An unexpected but still very unwelcome report was received just a couple of weeks ago from the Illinois Department of Agriculture, certifying the presence of the emerald ash borer, or EAB, in the City of Ottawa. The EAB has already killed tens of millions of trees in the Great Lakes area, and will likely kill thousands of ash trees in Ottawa, damaging our beautiful urban forests and stressing city resources to remove a large number of diseased trees. The city is mobilizing to manage this crisis. We just applied for a grant through a recently created grant program to develop an EAB management plan. The plan will include an inventory of the ash trees on public property to discover the extent and location of the emerald ash borer, the education of the public about the emerald ash borer epidemic, possible treatments of some trees, and the removal and disposal of dead ash trees. It is also our intent over time to replace ash trees, on public property at least, with new trees on a one-for-one basis. Still, the year ahead will be a challenge for Ottawa, now in its 13th year as a Tree City USA community. And speaking of trees, the one really positive thing happened in Ottawa's urban forest this year, and that was the implementation of the Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program grant received 2 years ago for $338,000 for planting trees along the state and federal highway entrances to the city. A portion of these federal funds was used to plant 959 trees last spring. More than 20 different varieties were planted, with most trees being 2.5 inches in diameter. Interestingly, each of these 959 tree locations had to be engineered to IDOT specifications, It was a heavily engineered tree planting project. I'd never been experienced anything like it. Because the purchase price of the trees in quantity and because of the current economic situation came in so relatively low, nearly half the money, half the funds, grant funds are still available. And we are exploring with IDOT if the funds can be applied to an ash tree removal and replacement program. The Ottawa Visitor Center welcomed over 7,000 visitors through its doors over the past 12 months and is poised to partner with the city and take the lead on the development and implementation of its botanical brand marketing ad campaign scheduled for the spring of 2012. The Visitor Center continues to work with numerous event planners and provide graphic design, web listings, radio ads, banners, billboards, and other promotional support for tourism-related fests and activities. The Visitor Center also works closely with the Ottawa Chamber by providing company relocation packages, promoting the belief that every visitor is a potential investor or future resident. And I'm not the only one. And members of the City Special Events Committee continues to promote and support many of our annual events. The LaSalle County Cruisers' 13th Cruise Night, the Music in the Park Series, the Founders Day Picnic and Scarecrow Festival are among the most popular events enjoyed by our residents. The Downtown Merchants Ice Odyssey in December was held for the second year, and we are pleased to be able to help sponsor, or the Special Events Committee was pleased to be able to help sponsor that event. The weather conditions this year remained perfect for the displays in downtown, and many of the displays were there for over a week, and they were great attractions, and I noticed many of them being photographed during that week. Next year, or this December, the Downtown Merchants expect to have an even bigger event with some new special features. A new challenge for the Special Events Committee last November was taking over the organization of the Festival of Lights Parade. In keeping with the Gillette's long-established holiday tradition, the parade remained non-commercial and non-political, and the number of spectators was comparable to previous years. And finally, the Music in the Park Summer Series just finished its 11th season of offering live musical performances at Washington Square. This year's series remained rain-free for all 7 Saturday nights, and it seems our residents and visitors continue to enjoy the ambience of Washington Square. The Legacy Girls and the Rhythm Rockets were new to the scene this year, and the committee welcomes suggestions for other new groups to be considered for the 2012 series. The committee continues to encourage local groups and individuals to submit ideas for new events and to apply for funding to help with a public event of their own creation. This year, the city's Historic Preservation Commission conducted a historic building survey of Ottawa's east side. Remarkably, of the 297 structures surveyed, 94% were classified as contributing, which, as I said before, means they're over 50 years old and still have some integrity, which kind of looks like this crowd now that I look out there. The Historic Preservation Commission is now exploring the option of establishing an East Side neighborhood National Register Historic District. A couple of special things happened this year. A tragic yet inspirational chapter of Ottawa's history was recognized with the dedication of the Ottawa Radium Girls Memorial on Labor Day weekend. The bronze statue of a young woman depicting a radium girl surrounded by beautiful flowers, plants, and trees memorializes the personal sacrifice of these young women in their fight for workplace safety. This $85,000 project was completed without the use of City of Ottawa tax dollars, thanks to the generous cash and in-kind contributions of many donors. I would like to especially thank David Rakes and Labor's Local 393, the Miller Group Charitable Trust, Dr. Carl Soderstrom, the Coalition of Labor Union Women, and the United Auto Workers Region 4 for their special generosity. A special thanks also goes to the Labor's Local 393 members and other building trades members who provided a great deal of in-kind work to build the memorials. And I was at the UAW Center Saturday. They asked me to come and speak briefly at a seminar they were having and to present me the check for $5,000. And they said, you know, our fund drive was so successful, we had $3,000 extra, so they also had a $1,000 check for the pad shelter, a $1,000 check for the Youth Service Bureau, and a $1,000 check for the food pantry. It was just incredible generosity. And then that night I went to the Lions Club were celebrating their 75th anniversary as a club in Ottawa at Festivities Unlimited, the old Cooley's building. And they gave me a check for $2,000 toward Walsh Park improvements. So that was a $10,000 day. That was pretty good. But it just kind of, it shows the generosity of the people of Ottawa. It just happens all the time. The other project has to do with the Mary Fanning sculptures. The talent and creativity of the late Mary Fanning has added to the quality of life in Ottawa, primarily through her sculptures which dominate the landscape in Allen Park along the Illinois River. These remarkable sculptures were created 30 years ago from the steel girders salvaged from the demolition of the Hilliard Bridge, which spanned the Illinois River for half a century. The giant red and yellow sculptures are now proudly featured on the Outdoor Sculpture Register of the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. The restoration of both sculptures and the relocation of the red sculpture were accomplished once again with an outpouring of public financial support, along with a great many in-kind contributions of work and materials from private companies and organized labor. The Painters Union, for example, prepped and repainted both sculptures, saving us over $25,000. And again, an $80,000 project was accomplished without the use of any tax dollars. Special notes of appreciation need to go to Peg Breslin for leading the effort and organizing the committee, and to Catherine Gibbs, the sister of Mary Fanning, for providing many kinds of support and assistance. Let me talk just briefly about city finances. The city's total budget this year was about $40 million. The general corporate budget, which basically is the fund that runs the city, with the exception of water and sewer, or wastewater, was $14 million. Although about one-third of the revenues come in sales taxes. And as of today, we appear to be on target with our sales tax projections as well as our other revenue sources. This year there was no pay increase for appointed staff, about 29 employees. In another cost-saving measure, the council did not appoint a deputy fire chief following the retirement of Chief Dubach, and the promotion of former Deputy Chief Newberry. Similarly, we continue to operate the Public Works Department with one less administrative position than in the past. The city also realized some significant cost savings recently. We have saved about $105,000 on electricity so far this year through an agreement to purchase power with First Energy. While speaking of energy, I should note that the city is in the midst of administering a $135,000 federally funded energy conservation grant. This grant was awarded for two purposes. First, to encourage home builders to include extra energy conservation features in the new homes they are building. The second purpose is to provide incentives to owners of historic buildings in the downtown Ottawa Commercial Historic District for the installation of energy-efficient windows, HVAC systems, lighting, and insulation. We were able to pass along these funds to local builders and property owners. Two economic challenges that we continue to be concerned about are funding of our employee pension plans and potentially rising and volatile health care costs. To date, the city has been able to fund the various pensions at the amounts recommended by actuarial calculations. And as for health care, although statistics show that nationwide health care costs increased 9% over the past 12 months, and that was in spite of plan design changes that included higher deductible plans and reduced benefits, I'm happy to announce that the 2012 premium equivalents for active and retired city employees will actually decrease by about 5% this year, while continuing to maintain a very low deductible and out-of-pocket charges, with the only plan design changes being those that were mandated by the federal health care reform. The decrease is a result, I think, of a year or two ago, are going to Blue Cross Blue Shield to administer our plan, and this past year, not only did their costs in administering go down, but we had about a 4% reduction in our claims experience, so that of course helps, being self-insured. One final long-term financial challenge facing the city, which I talked about last year in detail, but just mentioned this year, is Ottawa's combined sewer overflows. And that, as I explained in more detail, as I said, involves the fact that about a third of the city's sewer mains also are stormwater mains. And in cases of very, very high rainfalls, we do have discharges to the Illinois River. and the EPA says we can't do that anymore. They mandated that overflows to the rivers be severely cut back to protect the quality of the rivers. Our heavily engineered long-term plan has been submitted to the IEPA for its review and comment. When the final determination is made, the city expects it will be required to spend between $15 and $26 million over the next 10 to 15 years to solve the problem. We haven't figured out exactly where those funds will come from, but we'll be exploring our options. Finally, Ottawa has always been a community with a strong element of volunteerism. For example, volunteers have for years helped maintain Ottawa's many parks. However, during the last few years, volunteers have played an especially critical role in the beautification of downtown Ottawa. Each of the many plant and tree beds in the streetscaping on LaSalle Street are maintained by a volunteer gardener who treats these beds as if they were part of their own yards. I'd like to thank Coughlin for her invaluable role as the coordinator of this vitally important volunteer force. And I extend my thanks to the hundreds of men and women serving on city committees, boards, and commissions. Much of their work is not so physically visible, but nonetheless is essential to the workings of city government and the providing of amenities to our citizens. Well, in conclusion, I would like to say that's the way it is, to borrow a phrase from the late Walter Cronkite, or at least as I see it. As I said last year, these are difficult economic times, but I believe the city is doing relatively well and probably a bit better than most. 2 weeks ago, I was at the Illinois Municipal League Conference in Chicago, and I was sitting next to a gentleman, and when he heard I was from Ottawa, he told me that he was with a law firm that recently tried a major case at the downtown courthouse in Ottawa. He spent about 10 days in Ottawa, and he remarked how beautiful the city was, how friendly the people were, how he enjoyed the downtown so much, and even how courteous judges, clerks, and local attorneys were. I hear these sorts of comments about Ottawa all the time, and it makes me feel very good. And I think all of you as involved citizens, or just nice people, should be proud to be a part of that which makes Ottawa so great. Thank you.
We do have a couple of questions. One of them you began to answer, and that is plans for the old Central School, but there's a second part of that, and that is, will the residents at any time be able to use that outdoor track at Central?
That's very possible. We're hoping so. If we get the grant to acquire the building, that also includes money to do planning, and it'll be a very public planning process, as all of our planning processes are. And we'll want to explore all the options. And if that field can be used and if it's safe, I'm sure we'll want to keep it.
Are there any updates on the sewer system on the south side?
We've done some filming of the sewers in the area. Well, let me back up and say we had this huge deluge of rain this summer. We had 3.5 inches in a matter of hours. And because we have combined in some areas of town, we have combined sanitary and storm systems. When all of this water goes in, it ends up backing up in basements. The city's done a couple of things where in certain problem areas, we've gone over and filmed sewer lines and whatever to see if there's anything clogging them or if there's any reason they're not working as they're intended. Secondly, we put together, and we've had this program for a while, but we've actually increased the amount of contribution the city's making. We've got a program to encourage people who do have that problem to consider putting ejector pumps in their basements so that because of gravity, when the law of gravity, I say I'm a lawyer, but the law of gravity is the best law I've ever come across. It's just amazing how it works. But anyway, it'll prevent wastewater from backing into the basement, and we now offer $1,500. We'll pay half the price, up to $1,500 toward individual projects in people's homes.
Concerning the Ottawa Port District that you referred to, does that include any kind of recreational activity, or is that strictly commercial?
That's to be determined. The board will be, even though some of the members are appointed by me and some of the members are appointed by the governor, once they meet, they're an independent entity, and they'll make those decisions. Basically, the purpose is to promote economic development. I think there probably are some recreational possibilities there because of our, wonderful location. But I guess that remains to be seen.
One last question concerning the tree planting in Ottawa. Naturally, with the planting of so many trees, there was some attrition. Are there any plans to replace any of the trees that failed?
Well, a part of the bidding process, a part of the contract, and this is all governed by IDOT, we follow their rules, and they got some great rules. And one is that the trees have to live to a certain period of time. In the last few weeks, our consultant and IDOT have gone and examined every tree, and they've listed every one that is either dead or appears to be stressed. And next year, for those that have died, the contractor, at no cost to the city or the state, has to replace those trees. But at that point, they become ours. And then if anything dies after that, it's our nickel.
That's all I've got. This concludes the question and answer section, and I think Mayor Esbach has done another wonderful job and deserves to be commended for his presentation. With that, I'll turn it over to Larry Barban for a conclusion.
No, I thought it was over.
Yeah, he was ready to run, I think. I first want to thank the staff of the Chamber, Meg Skelly and Crystal Reagan. Without their hard work, we wouldn't be able to sponsor these things, so give them a hand, please. I want to thank again Exelon for sponsoring this event. Also our Diamond members, if you look at the program, all of our Diamond members are listed. But I want to thank them for their continued support to the Chamber. Ed Pitstick, thank you. Not easy to feed 200 plus people in about 20 minutes, but you did a fantastic job and the food was good. Ed, I want to thank the Chamber ambassadors. They're all in the green who welcomed everyone here this morning. You always guys do a great job, and thank you. Of course, Dr. Don Mamano, the Master of Ceremonies, does a great job for us all. So we appreciate that too. And finally, Bob, a great address. And I was once told, don't give an attorney a microphone and a platform because he'll talk a long time. So we'll get this over with and go back to work. Thank you very much, everyone.
Great job, Bob.